Hello everybody, Arturo Johnson here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about how to know if you're um, a salesperson or a business owner. And so if you stay to the end of this video, I'm going to give you some action items, as well as I'm going to leave you some links to some things that you can use and take away from this video to maximize the profits in your business. So I just want to check really quickly just to make sure we're live on Facebook. And so it looks like we are good to go. And this video was really kind of inspired by a book that I finished called Profit First from Michael Michalowicz. And he's a really interesting dude, right? He really, I don't really know how to explain him, but he's got a lot of energy around investing and saving, and especially for business owners, right? And so I can think back when I first got into the business a few years ago as a life insurance agent. The only thing I was taught was go out and see people, and then the money started coming in, and I had no business foundation. I didn't have any the right account set up. I wasn't saving money properly for this thing. All the money came in, and I thought this was actually how much money I had, right? And that reminds me of a video that I saw on YouTube a while back about Grant Cardone talking to his team. And he was talking about having $1 million stored up in cash, and how even when he was successful, he still pretended like he was broke. And he lived off of 60% of what he made, and he stored 40% of that, so that when the big opportunity came, he was available and ready to seize that deal. And that's what you want. You want to do that, but you also want to make sure that if you fall on tough times or you got to work for a little bit, you kind of got a nest egg. And so really, there's just a couple things that I wanted to kind of go through with you all based off that book that I read, and the information that I learned from Grant Cardone. So this video is just really about finances and kind of operational. Now, this isn't financial advice in any capacity. This is just a guy sharing some information about what I think's best and what I've seen work best, and what is the best practice. And so if you do have questions about these, I highly recommend that you hire an accountant. We have a full-time accountant here at Arturo Johnson Consulting. So without further ado, the first one is having a budget, right? So a lot of times in business, we just focus on the two things: the amount of money we spend on leads, and then how much we're making. But we don't really sit down and really factor in the business overhead expenses. And this is important because as you start to grow in business, if you don't really track these things, you don't know how much you're growing, but also you don't know how much profit, right, that you're having. And over time, as you scale, as you grow, your profit margins tend to dwindle. And if you don't keep a handle on your business expenses and they get all bloated, then you can end up just barely breaking even. And so after reading this book from Michael Michalowicz, he talked about having these different accounts for specific reasons and kind of naming them. And I'll put a link in the description below about this book, but it's really fascinating. And he names these categories, and the reason why he does that is because he wants you to psychologically know that some of these accounts aren't for use. And he said to have maybe about 8. But for me personally, I think that these 4 accounts are probably the most important. And so the first one is to just have go to your bank and open up a business checking account. And this is just where all of your business revenue is going to come in, right? And so you have your personal checking account, but then you just want to kind of have this business checking account over here. Just so everything's kind of nice and clean, so that come time, you don't really want to, just in case you get audited or something, right? You don't want to be mixing funds when you're trying to explain things to the IRS. It's never a good situation. So you want to kind of keep things clean, and then from the business account, which we'll talk about later in this video, you can kind of pay yourself, right? But then you want to have a business savings account. Then you want to set up a business credit card account and a business profit account, right? And so why do we break these things up? Because when money comes in, we think this is all the money that we have, but it's really not, right? Because what, 15 to 20% of that is going to Uncle Sam, right? And then there's expenses for business overhead that we need to allocate for things that we need to reinvest back into the business. And then you need to pay yourself, and if you have staff and everything. So we want to kind of have these accounts set up in a different way. And I remember being in a client builder and just raising my hand to one of the manager directors. And I was like, so, we talk about numbers and production and all these things. What do we do with the money? What do your bank accounts kind of look like? And he really couldn't give me a good answer. And so, I was kind of confused about that. So I did my own research, and these were some things that I found that really helped me. And so, financial advisor, sometimes we talk about these buckets, right? Well, as a business owner, we need to have our own buckets. And that first bucket is the business checking account, right? Then we need to have a business savings. And usually what I do with this business savings is for every sale that I make, I know that I'm going to have to end up paying something on that. So I just take 20% right off the top, right? Put that in there. So that's gone, and I've got to operate with the other 80%. And then from there, usually I'll do some calculations, which is the next point, which is calculating kind of what your profits are. And we're just talking about gross profits. I don't really want to get into gross profits and net profits, but just for this video, I want to keep it high level. What you want to do is you want to separate it. So you got money coming into the business account. Then the first thing you do is just have that 20% going. So now you're just looking at some gross, right? And then at the end of the month, you want to do your expense report and see what your profits are. Now, if you're smart and you have access to capital, then you can do something at what we call use leverage, or OPM, where you can leverage credit to fund your leads and your expenses and get points and all of those things. That way, you can kind of build up your cash reserves and all of those things. And so having those 4 accounts are really important, because you have this thing over here that's keeping track, and we want to keep things very clean, right? So all of your expenses for leads and all of those things are coming on this card. So we already know that this business card is just for business. This account over here, that's your business account, all of the sales that you make are coming in here, and then it's funneling down to your business savings, which is basically your tax account, which your accountant is going to love you if you do this. And then at the profit at the end of the month, you can go ahead and put those things in there and kind of pay yourself. And then you just pay yourself out of that business profits count, right? Super clean, super easy, right? Because you don't want money coming into your personal account. That's for these things, and you're buying stuff from Amazon, going out to eat, and then your business things coming in here, because now you're mixing funds, right? And you're not crystal clear on what's actual revenue, and then what the other things are. And so that leads me to my next point. Knowing what your revenue, expenses, and what your profits are. And with revenue, that can be tricky. And so a lot of times people can misunderstand the difference between revenue and cash, right? So cash is the amount that actually hits the bank account. And revenue is generally like accounts receivable, right? So if somebody's paying on a $1,200 insurance policy, the revenue is $1,200, but that first payment of, let's say, $100 a month is the cash, right? And so we want to distinguish those two. Now, at our company, we only run our business off of cash collected. Revenue is great because we'll collect on those things, but we want to make sure that we're running our business off the most dire constraints. Money coming in, money going out. And so with revenue, right, then we want to take a look at what our expenses are. So if you follow the instructions from this video, you can see that the budget's there, right? What do you need for gas? What do you need for leads, lunch? Mapping all those things out so that you're not being a salesperson that's still living check to check, right? So you left your corporate job or whatever you were doing to come over here, and you're still having that 9 to 5 mentality. living check to check, living week to week. Whereas a business owner, you need to be looking at things on a monthly, a quarterly, and yearly basis. And when you have your budget together, you have your accounts set up that kind of work together. You can take a look at everything as a business owner, right? And then you can start to tweak things to increase your profit margins, right? Cut things that are useless, and reinvest that money back into your business with leads or marketing, whatever you do. And so, and how you want to kind of calculate that is just, your revenue, right? Minus your expenses is kind of your gross profit. So whatever that is left over at the end of those things is what you actually made. And I see so many times people are like, oh, I made this, 12,000 came in. That's how much I made, right? And we can get attracted to that because that's what's on the leaderboards and all these things, but that's not really what you netted, right? That was your revenue without your expenses. But if you're spending $1,000 a week, technically you only are making 8K, right? And then from there, 20% of that's got to go to the IRS, right? And then you got business overhead expenses, so you may be down to like 4 to 6K. And so just getting really crystal clear on these things, and this may seem elementary, like people like they already know that, but a lot of people have never written a budget. So agents, if you're out there, anybody actually, do click the like button or the heart button if you operate off a budget and you're getting some value out of this. And the reason why this is important is because you really just want to keep your personal expenses and your business expenses low. So as you grow, right, you can reinvest in the marketing to get you more clients, right? And that's where that exponential scale comes into play, because the name of the game as a business owner, not just as a salesperson, is you want to try to keep your personal expenses and your business expenses as low as possible, right? Keep those things as lean as possible. You want to run a lean business, but it's impossible to cut the fat if you don't track it. And you get excited about the money coming in and you start spending it, and it's mixed in this one pot with your Netflix account and some gym membership that you signed up for at the beginning of 2020 that you don't even use, right? And so your business account funds that things that are supposed to fund you to get more clients is coming out for a gym membership that you don't use, right? And so as long as that money's going in there, you're never going to cancel that gym membership, right? So, and that just leads me to my point, because the point that I'm trying to make is, I remember Jeff Bezos, right, the owner of Amazon. In 1997, he wrote some letters to his shareholders where he was basically mapping out that they were going to run at a certain rate, which was at a loss, and just reinvest into their business long term. And so as a salesperson, right, you come from a 9 to 5, sometimes you just need to make sales in order to make money to keep the lights on. Well, after you get to a certain level, then the next thing that you want to do is you want to start thinking like a business owner, right? Right? If you were running Amazon, what would you be doing, right? You want to make sure that the accounts are together. You want to make sure that you have some reserves saved up, just in case anything happened, that you can pay your staff for 3 to 6 months, right? And my point to all of this is that Jeff Bezos let the shareholders know that they were going to operate at this for the greater good, because he wanted people to be thinking long term. And thank goodness for Jeff Bezos, right? In 2020, he really helped the economy. He helped everybody kind of cope through all these things in COVID-19. And so, when you're operating as a business owner, again, you want to model what already works and model successful people. And that's really where I kind of base a lot of this from. Successful practices, people who have made tons of money, and then the things that are actually working today. And when you operate at a lean model in your business, you're able to reinvest and have that exponential and hockey growth, right? So for our company, the reason why we're growing every single month, we're hitting new milestones, is because every single month I'm cutting the fat and reinvesting everything back into the business, right? And we're growing at 50, 100, 200, 300% every single month, right? So in this first 11 days, we've already surpassed what we have done on an average for the last 2 months, and that's because I reinvested everything back into the business. So if you guys found this video helpful, go ahead and click the thumbs up, the like button, as well as I have opened up the AUM training program to finish out the year. Then we probably be making some changes, maybe putting in some kind of waiting list, or even raising the price up a little bit more. So if you're looking to grow your business and you're an agent and you want consistency, you want predictability, you don't want to be spending gas money driving across town or having to make a decision between lunch and getting gas, and you'd like to just be a little bit more efficient with your time and stop being seen and operating as a salesperson and start operating as a business owner, go ahead and click that link and book a strategy session with myself and my team. I post results and testimonials all the time, so you guys can see those things. And that concludes this video. As well as I'll go ahead and drop a link to that book, as well as a link to the Amazon letters to shareholders if anybody's interested in that. So without further ado, you guys take care. Happy Friday, and I'll see you soon.